The Empress's baby dragon scared every alien babysitter until a human baby girl made them chuckle. The Imperial Palace of Zarian was famous across 10 star systems, not because of its shining towers or endless guards, not because the Empress ruled with power and wisdom. No, the palace was famous because of two little problems. The royal baby dragons, the Empress's children. They were small but powerful, rare but wild, cute but deadly, like kittens that breathed fire and had claws sharp enough to cut metal. Their names were Ryko and Sela, and every alien in the palace feared them. And today, fear was at its peak. A trembling robot assistant rolled through the halls, repeating the message in a mechanical voice. The Empress requires a new babysitter. The dragon hatchlings are restless. All qualified personnel, please report. Most aliens pretended they didn't hear it. Others ran away. One creature even hid inside a flower pot until the message stopped echoing. No one wanted to babysit the dragons. Not after what happened last time. One babysitter had fainted when Ryko sneezed fire. Another had jumped out the window because Sela chased him like a toy. A third had simply walked out, dropped her uniform, and moved to another planet. Today, the Empress sat on her throne, rubbing her forehead. She was strong, fearless, respected, but even she didn't know how to control her baby dragons. "Why do they scare everyone?" she whispered. The palace guards didn't answer, mostly because they didn't want to remember. Just then, the royal advisor stepped forward. He held a hologram tablet with a message blinking on it. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "there is a new candidate." The Empress looked up. "Another alien?" "Not exactly." He hesitated. "It's a human. From the outer district." The Empress raised a brow. Humans were strange creatures, small, curious, impossible to predict. But they were also known for one thing. They were not easily scared. "Still," she frowned. "Is the human trained?" "No, Your Majesty." "Experienced?" "No." "Brave?" The advisor swallowed. "It is a human infant." Silence hit the hall like a falling meteor. Even the guards blinked in disbelief. The Empress stood. "A baby? A human baby?" "Yes, Your Majesty. The parents believe she can handle anything." That is their exact message. The Empress sighed. "Are these parents insane?" "Possibly, Majesty." But she was desperate. If a trained alien could not babysit her dragons, maybe something unexpected could. Something totally different. "Fine," she said at last. "Call them in." The palace doors opened slowly. Two human parents walked inside, a mother carrying a tiny girl in a soft blanket. The baby had big, curious eyes and a smile that didn't match the tension in the hall. The alien stared at her like she was a fragile snack. The father bowed nervously. "Thank you for meeting us, Empress." The mother added, "Our daughter Luna is very calm. She is friendly with animals, even strange ones." The Empress tried not to laugh. "These are not animals. They are dragon hatchlings." The mother smiled kindly. "That's fine. Luna likes everyone." Before the Empress could respond, a deep roar shook the walls. The temperature rose. Shadows moved behind the curtains of the inner nursery. Everyone froze. The dragon babies were awake. The royal guard stepped forward to protect the humans, but Luna suddenly wriggled in her mother's arms. She leaned forward, excited, and babbled. "Bah, bah." Then she laughed. Her laugh was loud, bright, and innocent, completely opposite of the deadly atmosphere. The roar paused. A second, softer roar followed. Then a thump. Then another. The dragons were coming closer. The Empress raised a hand. "Stand back. No one moves." Two small shapes emerged from the nursery doors, Ryko and Sela. Scales glowing like molten metal, eyes bright gold, wings folded tight. Their claws clicked sharply against the marble floor. Everyone stepped back in fear. Everyone except Luna. She giggled louder, waving her tiny hands. The dragons stopped. Their heads turned. Their pupils expanded. They leaned closer, confused by this fearless little creature making funny noises at them. "Bah, Baba." Ryko blinked. Sela tilted her head. The baby girl giggled again. And then something happened that no alien in the palace had ever witnessed. The dragons chuckled. A soft, strange, tiny laugh. A laugh. The guards nearly fainted. The advisor dropped his tablet. The Empress covered her mouth, stunned. The dragons moved closer. They sniffed the baby. Instead of roaring or scratching, Sela gently touched the baby's foot with her nose. Luna squealed happily. Raiko copied her and let out a small, playful rumble. The Empress whispered, "Impossible." But it wasn't impossible. It was happening right in front of her. The human baby leaned forward in her mother's arms and reached out. The dragons lowered their heads, allowing her to touch their warm scales. Silence filled the hall, soft, magical, unreal. Something had changed. The palace could feel it. The Empress could feel it. The dragons weren't scared. They weren't angry. They weren't wild. They were impressed, interested, almost enchanted. And in that moment, the Empress understood. This little human girl was not ordinary. She was something more, something the dragons chose, something that would change everything. First contact gets weird. The palace guards did not breathe for several seconds. They simply stood frozen, staring at the impossible scene in front of them. Two deadly dragon hatchlings acting like shy children in front of a human baby. The Empress herself leaned forward on her throne, trying to understand what she was seeing. The very dragons who once set an entire training room on fire were now letting a tiny human girl pat their noses as if they were soft toys. Luna giggled again, and both dragons instantly reacted. Their sharp ears twitched. Their wings fluttered. Their glowing tails curled like excited puppies. One guard whispered, "Your Majesty, I think they like her." Another guard elbowed him sharply. "Shut up before they hear you." But the dragons weren't listening. They were watching only Luna. Her parents stood still, fear and pride mixing on their faces. The Empress slowly walked down the steps from her throne, her long cloak trailing behind her like a shadow. She moved carefully, not wanting to break this strange moment. "Why?" she said softly. "Why does your child fear nothing?" The human mother gave a small smile. "She thinks everyone is a friend until proven wrong." The Empress raised a brow. "Even dragons?" "Especially dragons," the father whispered nervously. Luna stretched her hands toward the dragons again. Raiko leaned in, letting her tiny fingers poke his warm scales. Sela made a chirping sound, an odd sound no one in the palace had ever heard before. A sound of delight. Aliens from 3 different species stepped closer, peeking from behind pillars. Some recorded the moment secretly. It was the first time in history anyone had seen dragon hatchlings behave so calmly. The palace whisper carried through the halls. The human baby has charmed the dragons. But things were about to get stranger. Raiko suddenly stepped back. His golden eyes narrowed. His scales darkened just slightly. Sela felt it too. Both dragons lifted their heads at the same time, alert, tense, sensing something the others did not. The Empress froze. "What is that?" The advisor checked his scanner. I do not detect anything." But the dragons did. They sniffed the air, growling softly. Not at Luna, not at the humans, but at something beyond the nursery walls. The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. The air felt heavier, colder, almost electric. Luna's smile faded. She looked around, confused. Her mother held her closer, sensing danger for the first time. The Empress placed her hand on her sword hilt. "Guards, form a line." Before they could move, the dragons stepped in front of the humans, protecting them. Protecting Luna. The guards exchanged stunned glances. Why are they guarding the humans? Are they expecting an attack? Were they sensing? Raiko growled, deeper and louder this time. Flames sparked between his baby teeth. Sela spread her tiny wings wide, her scales glowing brighter than before. The Empress whispered, "Something is coming." And then, a distant boom echoed through the palace halls. Not loud, not destructive, but enough to make every alien flinch. The advisor's tablet flashed red. Unknown life form detected. The Empress's eyes hardened. "Where?" "Direction. Nursery hallways, Your Majesty." Moving fast, the guards rushed into position. Weapons ready, shields raised. But the dragons refused to leave their spot. They stood guard right in front of Luna, tails wrapped protectively around her tiny feet. The Empress had never seen anything like it. Her dragons were dangerous and wild, but never protective. not even of palace staff, and certainly not of strangers, especially not humans. "What is happening?" she murmured. Luna reached out again and touched Sela's tail. Instead of flinching, Sela lowered her wings and made a soft hum, as if trying to reassure the baby. This small gesture sent a shock wave through the palace. Humans and dragons bonding? Impossible. Unheard of, yet completely real. Another boom echoed, louder this time. Lights flickered. The ground shook ever so slightly. Something was drawing closer, something strong enough to make dragon hatchlings nervous. The Empress spoke firmly. "All units fall back behind the dragons. If they sense a threat, we trust them." The guards obeyed. For the first time, human parents and palace soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder behind two tiny dragons, as though the hatchlings were generals. The hallway grew dark. A shadow moved. A long, narrow silhouette slowly crept across the floor. One guard whispered, "It's here." The Empress tightened her grip on her sword. "Prepare yourselves." But Luna did something no one expected. She leaned forward and made a small sound. A soft hoo. Raiko heard it. He puffed up his chest and echoed it with a deeper rumble. "Oh." Sela added another one. Hoo-hoo. The shadow stopped. The palace went silent. Something unseen began breathing. Slow, heavy, dangerous. The advisor's scanner beeped 3 times. Warning, entity classified as hostile. Everyone held their breath. Everyone except Luna, who clapped her hands. The dragons widened their stance. Their eyes glowed brighter. For the first time, the palace saw a frightening truth. The dragons weren't just acting cute. They were imprinting on Luna. They were willing to fight for her. They were ready to kill for her. And whatever was coming down that hallway was about to meet the tiniest commander in the galaxy. A strange bond forms. The shadow in the hallway moved again, slow, careful, almost curious. The guards raised their weapons. The advisor held his breath. The Empress stepped forward, ready to protect her palace. But the dragons stepped in front of her again, refusing to move aside. That alone was terrifying. These dragons respected no one. Not soldiers, not scientists, not even the Empress when they were in a bad mood. But for Luna, they stood like shields. The Empress whispered, "They're choosing the baby over me." Before anyone could answer, a thin hiss sliced through the air, sharp enough to make every creature flinch. The hallway lights flickered, casting long shadows. Then the creature finally showed itself. It slithered into the nursery hall, tall, dark, and shaped like a mix of shadow and smoke. Its eyes glowed violet, dripping with an energy no one recognized. A voidling, a rare invader from the Dark Fracture, a creature that fed on fear and chaos. And it had never entered the palace before. The Empress took a step back. Even she wasn't fully prepared for a voidling. But Luna? She squealed, not in fear, in excitement. She clapped her tiny hands as if welcoming a guest. The voidling tilted its head, confused. Fear didn't come from the human baby. No terror, no panic, nothing. Raiko and Sela roared at the intruder, tiny dragons vibrating with anger. Flames flickered around their teeth. Their scales brightened. The voidling hissed back. But then something unexpected happened. Luna crawled forward. Every alien gasped at once. Her mother grabbed her arm, but the baby slipped free and toddled toward the dragons, toward danger. Raiko instantly curled his tail around her, pulling her behind him like a bodyguard. Sela stood at her side, wings out, shielding her completely. The Empress stared with wide eyes. "What kind of connection is this?" she whispered. The voidling took another step forward. Its claws scraped the marble. Its shadow stretched unnaturally long. Its eyes swirled like small galaxies spinning in poison. The dragons growled louder. But Luna reached out her hand toward them. Her tiny fingers touched Raiko's warm scales again. And something unbelievable occurred. A soft glow spread from her hand, gentle, golden, warm. It traveled across the dragons' bodies like sunlight sliding over water. Their eyes widened. Their roars changed pitch. Their wings expanded with more strength than before. The Empress stepped back, stunned. "Is that human energy?" she whispered. The advisor shook his head, speechless. It doesn't match any known human signature. The dragon's bodies pulsed with that strange human warmth. Their attacks had always been wild, unfocused, chaotic. But now, their posture changed. Their growls became steady. Their breathing synced. They moved like tiny warriors instead of unpredictable beasts. Luna giggled and patted their tails. It was as if she gave them confidence. No, something more. She gave them balance. The voidling hissed again, louder now, sensing trouble. Its shadowy form shimmered, preparing to strike. And then, a deep rumble shook the room. Not from the voidling, not from the palace, from the dragons. Raiko stepped forward. Sela stepped beside him. Their small chests puffed. Their eyes glowed brighter than ever, almost burning. The voidling hesitated. For the first time, it looked unsure. It could sense that the dragons were changing, evolving, becoming something more than hatchlings. The Empress felt it too. Is this a bonding imprint? She whispered in awe. Bonding between powerful species was rare. But bonding with humans? Almost impossible. And bonding with a human baby? Unheard of. Yet it was happening. The voidling screeched and launched forward, aiming straight for Luna. Her mother screamed. The guard tried to charge. The Empress drew her sword. But nobody was fast enough. Except the dragons. Raiko snapped forward first, unleashing a burst of controlled flame. Small, sharp, precise. It hit the voidling directly in the chest, forcing it back. Sela followed with a cutting wing flash that sliced through the shadowy mist. The palace gasped. The dragons had never used their fire this way. Never controlled. Never accurate. Is the baby controlling them? One guard whispered. No, the advisor said. She's guiding them. The voidling screeched, shaking from the attack. It wasn't defeated, but it realized something terrifying. These were not normal dragon hatchlings anymore. They had become protectors. Guardians. Fierce and fearless because of the tiny humans standing behind them. Luna wobbled, trying to stand. When she did, the dragons immediately shifted to support her. The Empress felt her heart racing. She understood now. The dragons weren't simply acting cute. They were bonded. Their hearts, their instincts, their fire. All tied to the baby girl. This human child, the Empress whispered, has changed them. The voidling hissed once more and retreated back into the shadows. Injured, confused, and frightened. The danger wasn't over. It was only the beginning. Because if one voidling had entered the palace, others might follow. And the dragons would protect Luna from all of them. No matter the cost. Trouble arrives. The voidling's retreat did not bring relief. It brought silence, the dangerous kind. The Empress felt the air tighten like the palace itself was holding its breath. The guards didn't lower their weapons. The parents didn't move. Even Luna, who normally giggled at everything, stared down the dark hallway with wide, curious eyes. The dragons growled low and steady, their bodies pressed close to Luna's legs. They weren't celebrating the victory. They were waiting, preparing, sensing more danger. The advisor's scanner flickered wildly. Your Majesty, I think the voidling wasn't alone. The Empress clenched her jaw. How many? He swallowed hard. Multiple signals. Moving fast. Surrounding the palace. The guard stiffened. Fear crawled into the room like a cold breeze. More voidlings. Inside the Empress's home. Inside the most protected building in the entire star system. The human father whispered shakily. Why would they come here? Before the Empress could answer, the hallway lights turned purple. A sign of a major security breach. An alarm blared across the palace. Warning. Multiple unknown entities detected. All units to defense positions. The Empress inhaled slowly. She had fought wars. She had won battles that broke planets. But this? Voidlings inside her nursery? This was personal. The dragons suddenly turned toward Luna, nudging her backward with urgency. Raiko pushed her lightly with his head. Sela wrapped her wing around her to shield her tiny body. The Empress watched in shock. They understand the danger, she whispered. They understand something is coming. The human mother knelt and hugged Luna close. We should leave. No, the Empress said sharply. Moving now would expose her. The dragons want her here for a reason. As if agreeing, Raiko let out a loud, determined roar. The floor trembled. Even a guard stepped back. Then, thud, thud, thud. Heavy steps echoed through 3 different corridors at once. 3 separate shadows crept toward the nursery, each one larger than the first voidling. The advisor checked his scanner again and turned pale. These signatures, they're stronger. Sela hissed fiercely, her scales brighter than before. Raiko bared his tiny teeth, fire building in his throat. The Empress felt something unusual rising in the room. Not fear, not panic, power. The dragon's bond with Luna was strengthening rapidly, as if the more danger that came, the more they awakened. What are they becoming? The Empress whispered. The dragon's bodies glowed again with that strange golden warmth, the same warmth that flowed from Luna's touch. Except this time, Luna hadn't touched them. The power was growing on its own, almost like the dragons were drawing strength just for being close to her. The first voidling lunged into the hall, screeching. Raiko attacked without waiting for orders. Fire bursting from his mouth like a controlled beam, hitting the creature square in the face. The guards gasped. The Empress blinked in awe. This isn't hatchling fire, she murmured. This is evolved fire. The second voidling crawled up the wall, trying to flank from above. Sela spun, unleashing a shockwave by slamming her wings together. A baby dragon creating a shockwave? Impossible. But happened. The voidling fell, crashing into the floor with a hiss. Then the third one appeared, bigger, darker, with claws so sharp they scratched the marble simply by walking across it. This one was the leader. The dragons growled in perfect sync. Luna crawled forward again. Her mother panicked. Luna, no. But the baby wasn't running into danger. She reached out her hand toward the dragons, not touching them, just reaching. And again, that golden warmth surged. A pulse of energy washed over the dragons. Their eyes blazed. Their wings spread wider. Their small bodies looked suddenly ancient. The Empress felt her heart jump. This is impossible. No human child can do this. But Luna wasn't scared. She wasn't confused. She was smiling, as if she saw something no one else could. The leader voidling screeched so loudly the lights flickered. The dragons responded. Raiko leaped forward with blazing fire, so focused it carved a burning path across the floor. Sela moved like lightning, her claws glowing with energy that cut through the air. The guards stood frozen, unable to believe their eyes. The Empress whispered, "They are fighting like trained warriors." The leader voidling lunged toward Luna. Her parents screamed, but Luna lifted her hand again, this time higher. A brighter glow burst from her palm, not touching the dragons, not touching anything, just glowing. A strange warmth surged through the room, through the dragons, through the shadows. Sela and Raiko roared together, louder than any hatchlings had ever roared in history. Their combined blast hit the voidling leader so hard that the creature shattered into black dust. The nursery fell silent. The dust faded. The hall stopped shaking. The alarms quieted. Everyone stood still. The Empress looked at the dragons, then at Luna. No one spoke for several seconds. Finally, she whispered, "This child, she is awakening their true bloodline." The advisor swallowed. "Your Majesty, the legends say royal dragons only evolve when their hearts bond with someone powerful." The Empress stared at Luna. Tiny, smiling, innocent Luna. "Then this human baby is far more powerful than anyone in the palace." The dragons curled around Luna again, humming softly, proud of their victory. But deep in the shadows of the palace, something else stirred. Something bigger, something older, something watching. The war had only begun. The human baby's power is almost equal to 830 words. The nursery hall looked like the aftermath of a small war. Shattered shadows evaporated on the floor. The air still buzzed with leftover energy. Even the walls held cracks where voidlings had struck. Yet in the center of that chaos, Luna sat peacefully between the 2 dragons, tapping Raiko's scales like she was playing a drum. The contrast was unreal. The Empress stared at the little human girl as if she was seeing a ghost wearing tiny socks. "She did this," the Empress whispered. Her voice was not angry, not frightened, but stunned. The advisor slowly approached the dragons, his scanner shaking in his hands. Your Majesty, the energy reading from the baby, it's climbing. It's still climbing. He turned the scanner so the Empress could see. The numbers were rising so fast the device was overheating. The Empress stepped back, whispering, "This is not possible. No human child has this level of aura." The human father trembled. The mother held Luna tightly, unsure whether to be proud or terrified. Luna only giggled in response. But the dragons felt everything. Raiko and Sela pressed themselves closer to the baby girl, eyes half closed, as if absorbing her warmth. Their tails curled around her like vines wrapping around a glowing tree. Golden sparks ran across their scales. Not random, not wild, controlled, synchronized. The Empress narrowed her eyes. This is dragon heart resonance. The advisor nearly dropped his scanner. But Your Majesty, resonance only forms when a dragon bonds with someone in their bloodline. The Empress spoke slowly. Unless, she stared at Luna. Her soul matches theirs. No one had time to absorb this because the palace suddenly shook again. But not from an attack. This was different. A deep, powerful vibration, like something giant had awakened under the ground. The advisor gasped as the scanner beeped in an alarm. Your Majesty, something is rising from beneath the palace. A massive energy signature. The Empress froze. No, she whispered. Not now. Not this early. But the dragons already sensed it. They stood up fast, their scales pulsing brighter than before. Their pupils narrowed. Their wings spread wide, even wider than their tiny bodies should allow. Luna looked up, confused, and as the rumbling grew, she reached out again to touch her dragons. This time both at the same moment. Her small hands pressed against their sides. A shockwave of golden light exploded outward, sweeping across the entire nursery, shaking dust from the ceiling. The guards stumbled back. The parents fell to their knees. The Empress had to hold onto a pillar to stay steady. The dragons weren't just glowing. They were transforming. Their wings sharpened like crystal edges. Their horns stretched, glowing with ancient marks. Their bodies elongated just slightly, muscles tightening. They were still babies, but now they looked like baby dragons designed for combat. Weapons in tiny form. The Empress whispered, "This is evolution. An early-stage dragon evolution triggered by a bonding spark. But humans cannot spark this. It's impossible." Luna laughed again. The palace trembled harder. Suddenly, crack! A massive section of the floor split open right outside the nursery. Smoke and dust burst upward. A cold, deep breath echoed from the darkness below. The guards screamed and raised their weapons. The advisor's scanner turned bright red. Warning, ancient class entity detected. The Empress's eyes widened in horror. An ancient here? Ancients were legendary creatures, older than civilizations, older than the Empress's empire, older than her entire bloodline. Some said they lived in the deep fractures of space. Others said they watched from the cracks between worlds. But none should be beneath the palace. The fissure widened. A giant claw emerged, black, cracked, pulsing with violet lines. The guard stepped back. The Empress whispered, "This is the one commanding the voidlings." As the creature pulled itself upward, its size became clear. It was enormous, bigger than any beast the palace had ever seen. Its face was hidden in darkness, but its eyes glowed the same violet as the voidlings, only more intense, more ancient, more intelligent. The advisor stuttered, "Teach, this is no voidling. This is a void lord." The Empress grabbed her sword, breathing hard. But Raiko and Sela, they stepped forward, not back, forward. Their small bodies shook, but they didn't retreat. Their eyes blazed in golden fire. Their wings flared. Their roars pierced the air like bells of war. And behind them, Luna crawled to her feet. Her mother gasped, "Luna, no!" But the baby didn't fear the giant creature emerging from the pit. She didn't cry or hide. She raised her hand. A soft glow flickered in her palm. The Empress felt her heart stop. "She is calling them," she whispered. "She is calling the dragons." And the dragons answered. Golden sparks danced across their bodies, swirling around Luna like a tiny galaxy. The Void Lord growled, sensing the threat. But Luna simply stepped closer to her dragons, 2 steps, then 3, until she reached them. She touched their scales again, and then she whispered a small baby sound. Huh! The golden glow turned into a wave. A bright, powerful wave that filled the nursery with warmth so fierce the shadows recoiled. The Void Lord hit its face with its claws. The dragons roared in unison, ready to fight, ready to protect, ready to unleash a power no one had ever seen. The Empress whispered, trembling, "This child, she is awakening royal dragon magic that even I cannot command." And the palace realized the truth. Luna was not just special. She was the key. The palace watches in awe. For the first time in 1,000 years, the imperial palace stood in complete silence. Not peaceful silence. Not calm silence. The silence of shock. Every guard, every advisor, every alien servant. They all stared at the impossible scene unfolding in the broken nursery hall. A human baby stood between 2 evolving dragon hatchlings, while an ancient Void Lord crawled out of the ground like a nightmare made of shadow and broken stars. The Void Lord lifted its massive head. Violet fire swirled inside its eyes, forming spirals of rage. When it spoke, the air trembled. "WHYYY, does the child shine?" The Empress's blood ran cold. It could speak. Ancients never spoke unless the situation was dire. The dragons growled, stepping in front of Luna again. Their bodies radiated warm golden light that pushed the shadows back like sunlight hitting fog. But the Void Lord wasn't afraid. It leaned closer, its breath cold enough to freeze the stone floor. "It is not possible," it hissed. "No human child carries the heart spark." The Empress stiffened. "Heart spark? That is dragon royal magic." The advisor whispered, "Your Majesty, dragons don't share heartspark magic. Not with aliens. Not with anyone." Yet here was Luna, a tiny human, glowing with heartspark like she was born with it. The Void Lord growled again. The shadows behind it stretched like tentacles. The guards stepped backward. Even the Empress felt a sting of fear. But Luna didn't. She looked up at the giant creature with big, curious eyes. No fear, no tears, only a soft baby hum. "Who?" Raiko and Sela instantly echoed her sound, their golden light brightening. The Void Lord flinched, clearly confused. "What is this bond?" it hissed. The Empress stared at Luna, then at the dragons. "She is not bonding to them," she whispered. "They are bonding to her." A deep realization spread through the palace. Luna wasn't just helping the dragons evolve. She was their center. Their heart, their spark. The Void Lord roared suddenly, furious. The walls cracked. The floor shook. The temperature dropped. Shadows rose like waves of ink, shooting forward toward the baby. "Protect the child," the Empress yelled. The guard charged, but the dragons were faster. Raiko unleashed a column of fire, so bright it looked like living sunlight. Sela slashed her glowing wings through the shadows, cutting them like threads of smoke. Luna clapped her tiny hands, delighted. The Void Lord paused, stunned. "These are hatchlings," it muttered. "They should not wield this power." But they did, and their strength kept rising. The advisor's scanner beeped wildly. "Your Majesty, their power is doubling every few seconds." "Because of her," the Empress whispered. "Because they're drawing power from Luna." The Void Lord slammed both claws onto the floor. The marble shattered. A wave of dark energy surged outward. Guards flew backward. Advisors hit the wall. Even the Empress staggered. But Luna? The golden glow around her protected her completely. She didn't even lose her balance. The Void Lord's voice shook with rage. "The child must not exist." The human mother screamed. The father grabbed her, terrified. The guards tried to shoot. Everyone moved at once. But the dragons moved faster. Sela jumped in front of Luna as the Void Lord's giant claw swung down like a falling mountain. Raiko shot upward, fire bursting from his mouth. A blast of golden flame exploded across the Void Lord's arm. The impact shook the entire palace. The Empress shielded her eyes. The light was blinding. When the smoke cleared, the palace gasped. A burn mark, a large one, covered the Void Lord's arm. A baby dragon had done that. The Void Lord looked at the burn in disbelief. This is not possible. Luna took a tiny step forward, wobbling. Her power was still growing. Her glow was brighter. Her eyes sparkled. She lifted her hand again, and golden threads of energy spiraled out of her fingers like ribbons of sunlight. The dragons felt it instantly. Their bodies straightened. Their wings glowed. Their eyes burned fiercely. The Empress whispered, breath shaking. She's syncing with them. She's amplifying them. She's awakening something ancient. The Void Lord let out a roar so massive it cracked the windows. Enough! I will erase the child. It lifted its claw, ready to strike with full force. This time, the Empress stepped forward. No, she shouted. You will not touch her. But even she knew she couldn't reach the baby in time. The Void Lord's massive claw swung down. But before it could hit, Luna made a tiny sound. A soft, almost musical breath. Itch. The golden energy burst from her like a sun igniting. The dragons roared in perfect harmony. A combined golden blast. Fire, light, and pure heart-spark magic shot from their bodies in a brilliant arc. It struck the Void Lord directly in the chest. The explosion shook the entire palace complex, sending shockwaves through the walls and knocking every alien off their feet. When the light faded, the Void Lord had staggered back. Smoke rose from its chest. It looked stunned, trembling with fury. And for the first time since entering the palace, it stepped back, in fear. The Empress breathed one word. Luna. The palace realized something terrifying and beautiful. This tiny human baby was becoming the dragon's source of power. Their bond, their heart, their weapon, and whatever was coming next would decide the future of the empire. The Empress's decision. Dust slowly drifted through the broken halls like falling snow. The palace had never experienced a battle like this. Walls were cracked, floors shattered, and shadows still twisted where the Void Lord's magic touched. But the silence that followed was not fear. It was awe. Every eye was fixed on the same impossible scene. A tiny human baby glowing like a small star. Two baby dragons standing as her guardians. And a wounded ancient Void Lord retreating into the shadows of the broken floor. The Void Lord growled, furious and shaken. This bond should not exist. A human child should not wield. Heart spark. The dragons stepped closer to Luna again. They didn't even look scared. Only protective, fierce, ready to fight until their last breath. Luna reached out, patting their glowing scales softly. "Boo," she whispered, and the dragons hung back. Everyone felt the truth in that moment. The dragons were no longer acting like royal creatures. They were acting like her dragons. Her protectors. Her companions. Her chosen family. The Void Lord's shadows swirled violently, gathering strength for one last attack. Its voice shook with rage. "I will not be defeated by a human infant." The Empress stepped forward, sword drawn, and shouted, "You will not harm her." But the Void Lord had already released the attack. A massive wave of dark energy shot forward, wide enough to destroy the entire nursery. Guard screamed. The advisor dropped his scanner. Luna's parents lunged forward in panic. The Empress herself braced for impact. But the dragons didn't hide, didn't hesitate, didn't step back. They stepped forward, their tiny bodies glowing brighter than ever. Golden light exploding from their scales, forming a shield around Luna. The dark wave hit. The palace shook. The floor cracked deeper. Columns fell, but the golden shield stayed firm. The Empress whispered, trembling, "They're not blocking it. They're absorbing it." The Void Lord howled, confused and angry. Then something even more shocking happened. The golden shield began pushing the dark wave back. Luna's energy surged through the dragons like a heartbeat. Steady, pure, brilliant. Raiko roared. Sela echoed him. Together, they unleashed a blinding counterblast. Golden fire, golden wind, golden energy. The wave slammed into the Void Lord, lifting its massive body off the ground and hurling it back into the dark pit below. Its final scream echoed. This child must never be allowed to. Boom! The pit collapsed, trapping the void lord underneath layers of ancient stone. Silence followed. A long, heavy silence. Then, Luna giggled. The Empress finally let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She walked slowly toward the baby, stepping around cracks and debris. Everyone watched. The dragons stepped aside just enough to allow the Empress near Luna, but still close enough to protect her if needed. The Empress knelt on one knee. Her voice was soft but filled with emotion. You little human child, you saved my palace. Luna blinked. Then she reached out and touched the Empress's chin with her tiny fingers. The Empress froze. Raiko and Sela didn't growl. They didn't block the hand. They allowed it. The Empress exhaled slowly, eyes softening. This is no ordinary child, she whispered loud enough for the hall to hear. This is a child the dragons trust with their hearts. The advisor bowed deeply. The guards followed. Even Luna's parents stood speechless. The Empress turned to the parents. Your daughter has a power no human should have, she said. A power that may change the future of dragons. The mother swallowed nervously. Is that bad, Your Majesty? The Empress shook her head. No, it is extraordinary. She looked at the dragons, golden, glowing proud. They are bonded to her. Their power grows because of her presence. They obey her heart. And today they evolved in ways even ancient texts never described. The father asked, voice trembling. What does that mean for Luna? The Empress stood tall. It means she is now part of the royal lineage. From this moment forward, she will be under the protection of the Empire. She paused, letting everyone hold their breath. And she will be raised alongside the dragons as their chosen human. Gasps echoed across the hall. The Empress continued. The dragons have claimed her, and an Empress does not refuse the choice of royal dragons. The advisor whispered, it is prophecy, the one who awakens dragon hearts. The Empress looked at Luna again. The baby sneezed. Both dragons sneezed with her. Everyone blinked. The Empress smiled. She is their heart, she said softly, and they are her fire. Luna babbled happily and grabbed Raiko's wing. Sela curled beside her like a warm pillow. The Empress raised her voice. From today onward, Luna of Earth is the official guardian of the royal dragons. The only one they trust, and the only one they will ever follow. A shock of awe moved through the palace. The guards bowed. The advisors bowed. Even the humans felt tears rising. But the dragons? They simply nuzzled Luna, proud and protective. As the palace lights slowly returned to normal, a new legend was born. A legend of a human baby who made dragons laugh, who awakened ancient powers, who defeated a void lord, and who became part of a royal destiny older than stars. The Empress whispered as she looked at Luna. The galaxy will remember your name. And from that day forward, it did.